I think we're good. I'm saying it seems
Yes, we're
live.
good.
Okay, welcome to the walk-in panel here. This is a 3-day conference hosted by Portal to Ascension. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and Sheila Seppi is the person who put this whole conference together. Welcome if you're watching for the first time on YouTube, because we've been going for hours now, and it's been great building the energy. And this will all be on portal to ascension.org. And this is the first day of this ongoing series. And everyone here has brought in a certain level of higher dimensional frequencies. So, Sheila, why don't you introduce who's here, and we'll just go round table or something. Yes.
Sure. Um, so we see Alan, we've got Neil, of course, and then Marilyn Harper. Marilyn is a channel of Andoronda, and she is a spiritual teacher, and you can check her out. The easiest way to get a hold of her maybe is at marilynharper.com. We have Barbara Lamb, who is an author in the field of, gosh, in a lot of different fields, but specifically in extraterrestrial consciousness, in contactees. We have Emma Louise Living Soul, who is also a walk-in. And Emma has a beautiful message about being in connecting with nature and opening up to our highest divine essence and working to help raise the vibration of the planet. We have Jacqueline Smith, and Jacqueline is also a walk-in, but she is a hybrid. She said earlier she's had about 25 different walk-in experiences. She's an author. All of these individuals, you can Google them, and they should have their websites up. And maybe at the end, we'll just have everybody to say what your website is. Mm-hmm. Then we have Rebecca Hardcastle Wright with us. And Rebecca is the brain behind the Institute for Exo-Consciousness, known as IXO now. We have Dylan Cusco, who is my son, but he is also a walk-in. He is a healer, and he has a lot of spiritual truths that he's been bringing through. We have Nicole Richmond, and Nicole is an indigenous Ojibwe attorney, but she works on behalf of the people, helping elevate consciousness. She does spiritual teaching. She does meditation. She's a phenomenal bead worker. And then we have Hildegard Miner. And Hildegard is also a walk-in, and Hildegard is a spiritual teacher. She is a life coach, and everyone here tonight or all day long has been speaking kind of the same language. Everyone is talking about being in service, how to come from a place of love and raising the vibration of this planet. And right. So right now, we're open to receive questions.
But just Sheila, just for people tuning in, do you want to just give a very brief understanding of what a walk-in is? Because there might be people tuning into the YouTube who said, "Well, what does that mean?"
Sure. Well,
you're a walk-in, yes.
Yes. Well, I am a walk-in, and typically a walk-in is when you have a total soul exchange where one soul is out and another soul is in. However, I found in my research that there were tons of different types of soul experiences. And we have what's called soul infusions, where people are bringing in more of their higher self or more of their own Akasha, more of their oversoul energies. We have overlays, who are souls that come in and serve as battery chargers for another soul. We have braids, and braids are when two souls actually inhabit the body at the same time, but one is in operation and then the other one subsides, and they may leave, or one may stay. We have what's called jumpers, and these are souls that just move in and out of the body basically at will. And then we have different types of souls who are multidimensional layering, and they actually bring in multidimensional aspects of themselves when they incarnate. And at some point in their life, those aspects are activated, and one will come forward and then it'll subside and another comes forward, just depending on the type of experience that they desire to have at that time.
Great, great, great. All right. Before we go to the questions there, I just have a question for some people. I mean, Emma Louise is still with us. That was 8 hours ago or something that she gave her presentation, and she's on the other side of the world and the other side of the galaxy. I'm just curious. You know, we're all galactics here, and it seems like it's a meeting of so many different dimensions right in this little virtual reality space. It represents the sort of I would say contradiction of being. We're confined to this box, yet we're so expanded and we're so beyond this technology, and yet we're coming through this little place, little screen here. It's strange. It's strange because we're bringing in so much into so little. But I'm curious, Emma Louise, when you heard other people talking, what were you getting as far as like the frequencies of different speakers as it aligns with your mission here? Do you know what I mean?
First of
Or
all, I'm quite tired now. It's
yes.
about 4 o'clock in the
Oh,
night.
wow. Okay.
So I'm gonna try to use my heart and head.
I'm just curious.
I'm not really sure if I understand your
Well,
question.
I'm just curious what you're picking up as other people are talking about the walk-in experience, or Barbara and Rebecca talking about what their work is. Do you get things that feed your consciousness, new ideas? You get a different aspect on the whole situation? I'm just curious.
What I pick up is what I think I kind of dipped into it, is that we have our own very unique experience.
Mhm.
And we can't really compare our experiences. And then I also feel in very much alignment in some of the speakers, and some may not so much. And that is completely natural, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
For instance, when Jacqueline Smith spoke her language, that was one of my languages as well. So I'm pretty sure we can communicate actually with each other. So that was very beautiful and very fun to hear. And Nicole, you know, I speak a lot with Nicole on the side, and I feel so much love for her. I'm basically 100% sure that we have had a lifetime together. And I agree with her. I really enjoy the life here, being human as well, despite that I have extreme a lot of experiences outside. And I totally agree with Marilyn and many other here that has said the same thing, that it's all about the love energy. Love is basically light, and that's what we come from. And I'm resonating with that 100%. I'm resonating 100% the importance to be in one with that light and not get separated from it. And that is basically my whole joy of being here on this earth, to do the things that creates this connection with this joy within me. And that is what people may call the source, the God, the mother, father. It doesn't really matter. It's just definitions anyway. And it's just a light for me. It's that golden, beautiful light that I feel. And I feel that from everyone here, and everyone have their own unique experiences, and that is okay.
Yeah, I'm curious. No,
Yeah.
that's great. I'm curious, would anybody else pick up on this is like a meeting of the minds, a meeting of the souls here. And for me, I just love the confirmation that I'm not all alone in these thoughts, and there's other people who are as way out as I am, and yet we're connected, you know, either that or we're all just crazy and speaking the same language. But I think it's something new that Sheila's put together here for the planet, and we are bringing ourselves together to this new frequency that everyone's contributing to. Does Jacqueline, you have anything to share about that? You're shaking your head. Yes.
Oh, I was just, agreeing with you because, I felt, in the speakers I listened to today, I felt, we are all different, but on the same frequency of being of service and of love and coming from the heart as one. Yeah, I was really feeling that.
I'm just curious about Dylan, and then I'll introduce Hildegard. Dylan, what do you feel like, now you're among your peers in a way, because our souls are all of the same age in a sense. So what did you feel about being in this collective today?
I mean, I think it's great. I think, like we said before, everybody had a very similar message, and it was just positivity and bringing love and light to the upcoming year and all of the, trials and everything that we're all facing. It's all just the same message of positivity, keeping our head up, making sure that staying true to ourselves. And I think that's really where we have the most power as a group and individuals.
Yeah, good. Oh, I just introduced Hildegard, who's going to be a speaker tomorrow. Is that Hildegard Miner?
Yes.
Yes. What was your impression of the day? I'm just curious, Hildegard.
Well, first of all, thank you, everybody, and thank you for having me, because for me, this is a dream come true. It's like almost 30 years in the making, because my walk-in experience goes back to the early 90s. And medical prediction initially was that I was not going to make it beyond 35. So I'm still here. And to be with all of you and to be really getting the in-depth story of your experiences is such a privilege. And I'm looking forward to share my experience. I'm a walk-in from Andromeda. And I was in this all alone. Not quite though. I had 3 little children and a puppy dog to help me along. So I relate very well to Jacqueline and anybody who else said, I can talk to the trees and the animals. It really helped me ground. I want to address a question in the chat, Q&A, if I may.
Please, yes.
While I am not an astrologer, I'm fascinated by it. Maybe I know something, yet it's not really up in my conscious awareness right now. When a walk-in comes in, that is my understanding, what I've learned. I take on the astrological chart, the energies of the soul that prepped this vehicle for me. So that body of mine was first being birthed in Aquarius in January. So that means all the charts and everything related to that refers to the imprint that was made on the vehicle the first time around. As somebody said earlier, I take on the whole story, the family, the experiences, the jobs of that initial energy. And it's my job to then mold that, work with that, understand it, transcend old patterns and software programs, amp some up, ditch others out. And that seems to be, interestingly enough, aligned with the astrology that the experts, whether it's Vedic astrology, Siberian astrology, Western astrology, it doesn't matter, seems to always fit.
Well, I heard something different, that when the person walks in, they take on the chart of the moment, like when Sheila had that waking up experience. This is just, I mean, who knows? There's no right answer, but her chart became that soul's incarnation at that time that she had that experience. I mean,
that is something for me still to explore. So far, and that has blown me away, especially when I went to see a friend from Russia who grandmother had this ancient Siberian astrology knowledge. And she also understood Vedic astrology. And then she overlaid it with the Western. And I found it interesting because the lady had never seen me before. I didn't tell her anything about the story about my life. And she nailed it down to the T. She knew exactly what happened when, not the characters in the game, but where there were significant events in my life. So I don't know. This is actually very nice. I appreciate, I think it was Jennifer who asked that in the chat for the question, because I want to now go back to that very same astrologer and say, would you please be so kind? And let's take that as my walk-in date, because I'm not precise on the date. I can tell you the year, 1992, but I can't tell you the date. So if one can work with that, would be interesting.
Well, it depends also according to Sheila's definition of what type of walk-in. If you're a full walk-in, half, blend, you know, I would think. But also, I think we're here to walk beyond our charts. We're here to transcend our astrology. So, Nicole, you look like you had something to say. Did you have something to say about, do you want to say, I mean, but anything about, okay.
No, I was just reading the chat, and I was thinking about this process, and what I was thinking about in terms of my own experiences. I mean, think about how many times each of us have been upgraded, even though it's not technically a walk-in, we're constantly getting new consciousness. We're activating parts of our DNA. Like, I don't know, Hildegard's analysis could run forever in terms of how we are constantly growing and evolving. So I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is. I think we are in such a time of important flux that is constantly changing. I think so many things are uncertain right now. And one of the things that I see often in my meditations is like our families, our galactic families, and they're on the ships and they're watching and they're just kind of going like, they're very interested. They want to make sure that we're doing our best, and they're not going to interfere, right? Like they're not just going to park in Times Square. Like humanity is not ready for that right now, right? But I think it was Marilyn that was talking about or channeling about that we're clearing space for that to physically happen. And that blew my mind. I'm like, if that's the only reason I'm here, like, that's amazing. But in terms of the upgrade, I think we are always galactically, you know, intertwined with different charts. So I think the walk-in experience is one major transition, but I think there are several that we go through.
Right. I also want to ask Rebecca.
Could I answer? Can I kind of?
Yeah. Go ahead. I had another question for you. Yeah.
I've had a funny thing happen to me. I mean, ever since with the Institute kind of got some traction, and like out of the blue, these people from mystery schools have been contacting me. And ironically, I've been kind of a student of mystery schools for decades now. And I think it's very interesting because not just metaphysically, but I think also the mystery schools all around the globe have kind of held this alternative energy for us and have kind of made decisions for humans and said humans weren't ready for the energy yet or weren't ready for this. Their consciousness wasn't ready, so quote, they couldn't have it. And I think it's funny because we just went through on the Christian calendar Epiphany. So Epiphany's the three wise men, the astrologers from the East, all woven into the story of Christianity. And astrology is totally part of the mystery schools. And I'm wondering, just something to keep our eyes on, I'm wondering if in the time to come, if the mystery schools, will start to release the technology that they have, the technology information that they have, and B, whether or not they're going to start releasing the astrological information that they have, which I think is massive.
Well, don't
That's
you
just
think
my take on it?
Don't you think maybe the mystery schools as they were are a little out of date because they're having?
I think some are out of date, and I think some they're record keepers. Mystery schools are record keepers, and they take that role very, very seriously. And kind of guardians of humanity, record keepers. And I think that they have information that is, I think it's going to come forward in this time, because this is a time of, whether you call it age of Aquarius, whatever you want to call it, but the veils are dropping. People know when information has been kept from them, and they want access to it. It's almost like we want access. Look at the Native Americans, how, with Nicole and so many beautiful souls within the Native American community that once was totally locked down to us in terms of information. And now all of that's coming forward. This is the time for this.
Right. Does anyone
Rebecca, I want to say one thing too, because the work that I do is out there. We like in ceremony, we don't talk about the aliens, but they are showing up to my friends who are in ceremony, who are out fasting, who are out in the lodges. The beings are showing up as aliens and showing up and giving messages. So everything's coming together now.
Did Marilyn, do you want to jump in on that, or Barbara, about the mystery schools and the ancient knowledge and time for truth to come forward now?
I can. I put in a headset. Am I still getting
No, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think there's a new mystery school in town.
Oh, there is? What is that?
Yeah. I think the mystery, everything shifted in 2012, as you know. And the mystery schools of the old that as Rebecca has said, they are old school. And the new mystery schools that are coming in are coming in the connection. And as Nicole says, when the indigenous, when First Nations people are in ceremony and they're seeing the galactics and they're seeing the energies that are coming in, that it's a new frequency, that it's a new energy that's coming through. And the mystery schools, we are enhancing our own skills. We are enhancing our own dimension, as it would be, as the planet's raising its dimensional frequency. All the people on the planet are doing the same. And so that's what's happening in the mystery schools. And I think that's why there's been sort of an upsurgence of mystery schools coming back again. But they've got a new energy. They've got new air. They've got new breath that's coming into them, which is great.
I wanted to teach a mystery school course here at Portal to Ascension. We'll talk about that, Neil. But Barbara, what do you think as far as this new time and this new energy? And here we have, 100 people gathered today who are really all on a kind of next tier of consciousness, a real exo event here. But wait, unmute yourself, Barbara. Unmute. Wait, you're still muted, Barbara. Barbara, unmute. Mute.
Barbara, you're on mute.
Can you unmute her, Neil? Maybe. Oh, there you go. You got it.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know how that happened. Technology just really mystifies me. But it's interesting. I think that in this age when technology is so commonly used, it's used just about everywhere for everything. And yet there is tremendous interest here and there in the mystery schools and in metaphysics, and more and more interesting people getting involved in meditation. So in other words, even in business, corporations, finance, even technical companies, I understand with many of them that there's an emphasis on taking meditation breaks or yoga breaks. So in other words, here we are just rushing headlong technologically in all ways. And yet the spiritual awareness and the spiritual disciplines are also gaining in society. So I hear men on certain radio programs who are dedicated research in the fields of science or political science or technology, business, finance, and so forth. And yet, even many of them are talking about these more spiritual aspects and are growing. So I think that's a very hopeful sign for the world, for humanity. Even though, oh my goodness, we're still involved with competition and war and this group against that group, this political party against that political party, and so on, really all over the world, and big grabs for power. I mean, all of that stuff is going on. And yet, at least here and there, more and more people are wanting to calm down, to go inward, to look outward. The expansion of consciousness is happening with many. I frankly think that it's important that at least slowly, trickly, the UFO information is coming out publicly, sort of officially. And a lot of people don't care about that. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, I've known that forever. And so many people worldwide are having experiences, not only just seeing these unusual UFO crafts, but so many people, I mean, millions of people, as I understand it, are at least occasionally having encounters with the beings. So what a fascinating tapestry that we're all living in. You know, on the one hand, these things that I've been mentioning, and the spiritual growing. So all of you, all of us here, I think are really doing a very, very important thing in however we can, whether it's just with individuals or with classes or writings or whatever, to really expand, open up the consciousness of as many people as we can. It really is a very exciting time.
I was just going to say those very words, Barbara, that it's a very exciting time, because here we are really lifting each other up in our own beings, and it's a new time. I think the return of the Melchizedek, who were the old mystery school teachers, are being infused within the evolution of the DNA that we're moving towards, this activation of the new strands. And that's why it's so important. I like what Emma Louise says about keeping that pure, not being, you know, influenced by a kind of what would you call it, a transhuman technology, Rebecca? What would you
Synthetic
call it?
biology.
A synthetic, yeah. We need to keep that pure. But wait, I had one more question for you, Rebecca, because you talk about exo-consciousness, and here we all are, an aspect of the exo-conscious awareness. So what is your feeling about this gathering and everyone joining us online and in the chat? And I mean, is this a kind of realization of a dream of yours?
Oh, absolutely. I can remember back in the early 2000s when I think I first put my website together, and a man that maybe some of you know, Larry Lowe, he was a Phoenix Lights researcher. And Larry said to me, so why do you want to have this website? And I said, oh, because I want to bring experiencers all over the world together so we can all talk to each other. And that's exactly what Sheila's doing with this webinar. I mean, that's just been a dream of mine ever since there was technology, to even just to start to do this in kind of early stages in the 2000s. So absolutely, yes, this is, and not only that, but I think that these kind of gatherings that Sheila's put together, and you've helped with, Alan, and certainly you, Neil, are facilitating, that the more we get together and talk to each other, the more we give ourselves power, and we become empowered to do things like speak our stories and bring forth technologies, or like Jacqueline, speak star language, or Emma Louise, bring forth healing. So all of us are we're making each other stronger by participating in activities like this. And we don't feel alone, and we don't feel, there were so, and Alan, I've known you for a long time. It was hard for us in those early years of ufology. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was told to shut up. I was told to shut up because I would ruin exopolitics. I would ruin the congressional testimony. I would ruin their plan. And I just kept saying, but we are their plan. Right. This is why we're here.
Right. Even within ufology, we're not allowed to mention the E word, extraterrestrials. It's just all about spaceships. Well,
and UFOs and the military and the government. I'm like, it's not about the military and the government and intelligence and people that were in the CIA. It's about us.
That's right.
And I mean, we've been in this a long time together, Alan, and it's been quite a journey.
Well, it's funny people never thought about, well, who's behind those spacecraft? Who's behind
or in them?
Exactly.
Who's in them? Yeah.
So that was something Bud Hopkins used to say. Well, no one ever there's UFOs, but who's driving them? Who's behind them? And so we've really evolved to, I think, accepting the fact that we are of exo-consciousness, however you want to call it. We are ET related. I don't know. There's so many different terms for this. I think there's a merging. This is why, I love what everyone here says. We're sort of merging into these conscious awareness. This is what Emma Louise was so passionate about, her human and her star seed just kind of merging right there. And we're in we're not in Kansas anymore anyway. But let's just talk about some of the things in the chat. There was something about star seeds and portals. Did you pick up a question in the chat about that? Are star seeds portals to another dimension, or I'm looking for that, but and then Kevin had something interesting to say. I don't know if he's still here, but anyone have an answer for this idea that we are walking portals in ourselves, like our consciousness is like vibrating at this next frequency of being. So all of us who have activated our soul essence is actually beaming out light to be portals of consciousness. That's how I interpret that.
Yeah, Alan, I believe that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. Mm-hmm. And because we are human and we experience in so many different ways, we're also co-creators of our own realities. And I'm very excited that we're all together tonight, because it feels as if, we may not be saying the same thing, but there's a lot of like-mindedness here. Mm-hmm. And that like-mindedness is sparking that like-mindedness within the audience. And then they're going to spark that like-mindedness within their own communities. And so as we continue to communicate with each other, as we continue to create this synergy, we're raising that bar. And so our microcosm is going to be changing constantly based on what it is that we're working to create.
Right.
Well, and I think it's great if I may put that in, because when you speak about a portal, again, I am not so fond of specific words. Yeah. Because words are so limiting. So I have a bit of an issue also with ETs, because in my worldview, there's nothing out there. It's all in here. And because it's so scary to look at myself, I rather blame you for all that's not happy making rather than look at me. So for me, I am an anchor. When I walked in, I was told, I am here in this, I was shot into that physicality, which was broken and useless vehicle, really, to anchor higher and higher and higher vibration. It's almost like you have a rough sea out in the middle of the ocean, and you drop all the anchors you have to get some footing. And then maybe the helicopter can land, and then maybe there's all sorts of things possible. Somebody can climb up on the mast and wave hello. That's how I see myself. I see myself more like an anchor. Now, portals in a way are doorways, are anchors through which stuff comes through maybe as well. But again, the word portal, it rubs me a little bit the wrong way because I don't have a clear understanding of what that means. Maybe somebody can
Well,
enlighten.
it was a question in the chat, I think, when maybe Marilyn or Jacqueline were speaking. So if someone had that question, they could raise their hand. But also, let's just go to, if we want to, maybe if Omar wants to come on, I'm curious about this comment. He says, I feel my experience was hijacked from 1985 to 1996. It seems like two different realities. Is that possible? Does Omar want to come on and explain what that means? So maybe someone here could help him out. Do you see Omar out there, Neil?
Yeah, I just added him right now.
What's that?
I just added him as a panelist,
Oh,
so let's see if he
okay. If he wants to speak on camera, I mean, I just think why not ask directly to, and also explain what he means by
or
his
audio
experience,
only.
what his experience was being hijacked. If he's not, if he doesn't want to come on, then there's other questions here, because the idea of portals, I think, in general, is a technology. Getting back to Hildegard's question, this is how beings travel through the cosmos, you know, through time-space loopholes, and consciousness itself is sort of a portal. And I'm sure that's, where did Emma Louise go? I was just going to ask her about that, but oh, there you are. Oh yeah, Emma. So what do you think about portals and travel and how you get to your ship, and the technologies of using that with consciousness?
Well, I don't have any negative feelings about using the word portals. I am a living portal, and that is how I travel.
What do you mean you're a living portal? How can you explain that?
When I walk to places, conferences, wherever, and there are energy that needs to be transmuted or balanced out, I'm sucking it all up through me and transmuting it and sending it out. And this is also how I create money on my account from nowhere. I kind of just go into my portal to my consciousness, and I know exactly where I'm going. I do this through meditation, and I just kind of hack the system, and I go wherever I want to go, and I take some money and put into my account. So I am a living portal because I am this physical being, but I'm also consciousness. So I'm kind of tapping into the different frequency of this universe that we are part of.
Mm.
And that is the coolest thing ever. And when I travel, wherever I want to travel, I always match with the frequency of where I want to go. So I go from where I am to the frequency that I want to go by matching the frequency with the one that I already have. So how I see this is that I actually physically go through a portal. I move through almost like a wormhole in a way, through the darkness. And I can meet others that are traveling through the same portal sometimes.
Maybe you could teach that, or something like that. Does anyone else have? I love that, what you just said. Yeah, Barbara, please.
I think that all of us here are being portals for other people. In other words, anytime that we share any of these insights that we have, or experiences, or even other people's experiences, going into spaceships, going out into space, connecting telepathically with people, having encounters with the visitors from space, growing metaphysically, growing spiritually, any of these things, whenever we share this sort of material with anybody, whether it's one-to-one in a conversation or whether it's in a conference where we're giving a lecture or an interview. We are being a portal for whoever is listening to that. We're being a conductor and opening. It's like we're opening a tunnel. We're showing the way for these people who, in many cases, have never heard of these things before.
Right.
So all the sharing that we do, I think, is really, really important. And it's adding up here and there. It's going to be adding up more and more within humanity.
Well, Marilyn just showed us the portal through her channeling. I mean, can you talk about that, Marilyn? Because you are like letting the beings through and out, and you are like a portal as well. But just unmute yourself, Marilyn.
Yes, I would say that's a really good description of what I do as a portal. Because I am a trance channel and I do step my conscious personality aside, as you have seen. And in the beginning, Adironda came from the outside. They were not a part of my consciousness. They were not a part of my energy at all. And it was quite foreign to me. But as a portal, of course, it was safe. Because they're all energies from the light, but through that opening vortex, there's still that process of us thinking with our mind how to define something that is not definable, that it's not linear, it's not within our own conscious realm when our minds are trying to describe something that is it's just I mean, Emma Louise did a great job of describing what it is like to be that portal and taking that energy inside, transforming it, and then moving it outside again. I think that is a very profound way to describe that, and that's kind of the same thing that happens as I'm channeling. And as you saw, different members of the council actually come forward almost like they're stepping on stage or stepping into the portal of the opening transmitter, which is my mouth or my voice. But it's quite an interesting energy, as I believe we are all channels. Right. And we're all bringing in this information, and some do it as a conscious channel and some do it as a trance channel. And I think for my personal belief system in the beginning, I wouldn't have believed it had I been conscious and knew what was going on. I think I needed that element of proof to know that the portal happens when non-physical beings step in and utilize the energy in the capacity that they do. So it's a really good description of what happens in a non-linear way. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I also want to ask Nicole, because your story was so personal. You know, was there something in the dynamics of the relationship that you described that sort of propelled you to this bigger awakening that you had, and using your consciousness now to bring in other dimensions, other aspects?
I think for me, and I just want to say hi to Rebecca, because when I met Rebecca in person, she was the one who mentored me. And she said, by the way, kid, she didn't call me kid, but that's what it felt like you're galactic. And someone affirming me and saying, well, these experiences that you're having are very special was really, really important to me. And Rebecca has remained a really important mentor for me. And I think that's the role that we all play for one another. So Sheila is also an important mentor for me, Emma Louise, everyone becomes really important. And I think when, we're taught about things like karma, and we're taught about karmic cycles, and that we come to Earth as a school. And I never really identified with that. I didn't think that I had to be here on purpose. Like for my own growth, I always knew that I was here of service. I understood that from the very beginning. I'm not here for Nikki. Although I guess I am, because I'm part of the universe and I'm God, and what is below is above. But in terms of my soul's advancement, it was more about what I was channeling through me that was for other people. And I think that's the confidence piece, where that this group is very integrated. You're very sure of who you are. You're very confident in who you are. We're not about selling things. I think some spiritual people get off track because they want to have a following, or they're very ego driven, or they're very like, they need to be constantly confirmed by the people that they're working with. And I don't really see that with this group. And I think the point really is that you really make the difference in the very unique way. So me, my experience is very personal. And I think that's just the way that I was programmed to make a difference. So to be able to tell this very personal story and have a big cry in front of all of these people is just what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And I think once you are in tune with who you really are, you really can't go wrong.
Beautiful. That's great. I just wanted to talk to Jacqueline too because Jacqueline, you are so open. You are another like living portal here, and it's just kind of coming through you. Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, it's yes. Whenever with all the people who I work with, I become that portal when I work with them, when I do light language sessions and speak star language, that is coming through me. And so whoever I'm talking to, they're receiving whatever they need. It's all totally spontaneous. It's just flowing through me. And I do feel like a portal often, since I'm, doing this work every day, pretty much in my life. And things I write, the books. My second book was, I just sat and typed what all these beings came through with that they wanted to share.
I think that's an aspect of what Rebecca's calling exo-consciousness, is that consciousness is this doorway. Like that's what a walk-in is in a sense. And what Nicole said, you have to kind of know who you are if you're really going to allow that sort of thing to happen. And if you're not grounded, that could be, I would say, a little dangerous. And this is just, I mean, what are you saying, Neil? You think?
Yeah, I agree. And I'd like to actually make a comment on that. So it's interesting to note, firstly, that Hildegard was talking about being an anchor, and then other speakers spoke about being portals. And it's interesting to note that we all come with our themes, right? That it's not everything overlaps and everything exists, but we have certain avenues when you go down. Not only themes like an anchor compared to a portal, which could actually be one and the same, and can also be separate. But also themes on where we come from. A lot of people say, I'm from the Pleiades, but ultimately they've been everywhere, right? So a lot of those themes are happening. But what I like to do is I like to bring it back to the science of how we can prove that we're a portal, right? And the fact is, we've now discovered that subatomic particles literally vibrate in and out of perceived reality. So what we're discovering now is we're made out of infinite singularities, infinite black holes basically create us. And it's interesting because the ether, which comes from the void, which comes from the black hole, is also so when you look at the subatomic particle to realize and figure out the etheric mist that we're created from, what do you see? You see black holes. So it's almost like the energy that came out of the void in the center were just an infinite number of black holes that we're all basically made out of. So we are portals. And then even like Bringers of the Dawn, for example, that book, she talks about the 12 chakra system, right? And how it's lodged in different parts of the solar system. And then based on whatever chakra you activate, you're able to tap into that level of consciousness. So even our chakras were innately embedded with a system to tap into other portals of awareness, right? So it's beautiful. It's pretty much everywhere. And we are like embodying and living portals.
You know, the other interesting part is like Nicole said, you have to know who you are, but at some point the who you are also dissolves into something bigger, and I don't know if we always maintain that sense. Maybe we need to build it so we can dissolve it, but I'm just curious about that. As we merge back into the oneness, is, I mean, of course it's an old spiritual question, do we retain that sense of self, like Sheila, when that last walk-in left you, the body, what happened? Did it dissolve? Did it go on? Did it, and in somewhere are we all merging back into the one being that we all came from, you know?
Well, there's a couple different answers for that. First,
Mhm.
through hypnosis, I found that when this soul left, that it went, there was a ship waiting to take it. It was an Arcturian ship that took it. Now, I assume that it continued on its journey, but I believe that we all go through various densities of our experience. And when we continue to evolve, there will be a point in time where we do go back and we're reabsorbed into that source energy, and we can come back out again. And
Mm.
so, yes, I think that's where we're headed.
I thank you. I like what Steve says here in the chat. The body is the placenta of the non-local. That's good. Yes, it is. It's a training ground, but and it's also a great thing too, with its own animal intelligence. And it's such, in my talk, I'll go into like what a gift it is to be here on planet Earth compared to the last lifetime I had here, which was not a picnic in the concentration camps. I'll go into more detail of that because you know, that's, everyone has their own evolution back, and you know, it's not always an easy journey, but it's always, I guess, evolutionary. So let me just say, someone here also in the chat, this is a very basic question, but maybe it's not. He said, someone said, why would anyone want to be a walk-in? I think that was in here somewhere, you know. And I guess it's simple because this is what we've been talking about, but it's also like, what, yeah, maybe Sheila, you want to talk about that? Why would, and other people, why is a part of you that's walked in want to be actually walked in here?
Aside from the being in service to humanity, I think that this planet is undergoing an extremely exciting time. And I believe that we are evolving to the point that we are going to tip the scales, be able to move into that 5D reality. And a lot of us wanted to be here to either help to anchor in this new energy and raise the vibration, or just participate in it, because I think it's going to be the greatest show on earth.
It is. Wait, Jacqueline, you were going to say something about that too, right? Did you have about?
No, I just totally agree with what Sheila had to say.
Oh, right. Anybody else? Yeah.
I also want to say Emma Louise's experience. I won't speak for her, but I don't think I'm here because I want to be. Like, I think I was just told, this is what you're going to do. This is your job. You have to go and be there. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I've heard people say that Earth is a hard school to get into, and that for every person that is here, or every spiritual being that's here, there are thousands that want to be. So we could be floating around in 7D doing, creating energy all day long, and that would be cool. But like, to have this dense emotional experience and crying about things that are happening, like, that's a lot of, like, really, like, it's a lot of fun if you don't take it personally and you're not feeling depressed all the time. Like, this is a really cool experience. And as a conscious healer, we're transmuting that energy through these these portals, through these technologies. Like, that's really interesting if you think about the role that we're playing. When we're healing ourselves, we're actually healing the collective. Like, that's pretty fascinating as a role. Who wouldn't want to do that, as long as you're not taking it personally?
Exactly. It's a lot of fun, I think, to be here in the animal monkey suit that we're playing in and experience sound and light and color and touch and all smell and taste and chocolate, and that's what some people do. But I also want to say I think Dylan is having a shift in frequency. He says, I'm sorry everyone, I have no idea what's happening with the electricity in my office. I hope everyone, that happens when you're starting to shift to another level. Does anyone have an experience with that?
Oh, yeah. Lights exploding. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So maybe, I don't know, you might want to check in on him, Sheila.
I'm going to add to this what Nicole said. It's also, yes, it's a fun experience to have all of these dichotomies going on. I also believe that we can really, if we are here to learn, we can learn faster in a body than without one. That was simply coming from that short time space that I was separate from the body, yet I had this consciousness that I had before the first 33 years. So I think it could very well be that this is such a hot theater to get into, because we can accelerate the soul's education, if I could call it that. Not sure.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Is there something to that, or how do you?
Yeah. Jane Roberts wrote the book, The Education of Oversoul 7. It's all about that. This is it's definitely a schoolroom, and there's many grades all shoved into one classroom there. So, but I do think this year, someone mentioned also in the chat, 2020 to 2021 is a sort of like graduation. I mean, in a sense of a new level, really kind of grounding itself. Emma Louise, do you get a sense of that? I know you're tired, but do you get a sense of this year, and years are arbitrary, of course, but is there a new frequency you feel that's happening now as we move out of the drama of the last year into, and I'll ask, other people that, but what do you think, Emma?
The hell year of 2020? Just kidding. In the ER, we call it the hell year. No,
right. Actually, I saw a great ET cartoon. There's these ETs looking around a television set, and they say, "Wow, Earth 2020 just got very interesting."
It did.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Despite that, there are a lot of, theories and all kinds of things about agendas and all of these things, and I'm very much into all of them. But I try to keep on the side of love, and stay focused. So I'm very positive, actually. And I feel great deal of expansion in 2021. And I just want to tell you, I feel such an extreme positivity actually about people that we couldn't realize, we couldn't in our wildest dream imagine that they would start to wake up. And today, my fiance and I, we had to go to the mall to buy some groceries, and I'm a little rebel, so I don't want to listen to the authorities. So I just walk into the mall without the mask, and when the security guards come up to me and start asking, we speak to them and we tell them what we believe in. And by the end of our grocery trip, we actually had spoken to, I think, 3-4 people, and all of them had an instant waking up to bigger realities than the one they had been in just 10 minutes ago. So, and I meet people every day that I speak to, and I just speak to people everywhere. I've been like, what, the beep beep. I just do it, and I just speak to them, and I just ask them the right question, and it's like turning on something in them, and they're like, ooh, and suddenly they start getting memories, and that is what I think starts to happen in 2021. I think such a lot of things are happening with people, and they're just waking up to their true reality and what they can absolutely do, So I'm 100% positive.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Marilyn, do you
ask me on a rainy day?
On a rainy day. Marilyn, in your work with people and channeling, what are you seeing as far as ordinary awakenings?
I think it's the planet is awakening. I mean, um, for the things that are happening, 2021 is really. It all adds up to a 5. I know we Adironda, when they first came in, said pay attention to the numbers. That the angelic realm will get your attention through the numbers, and they mentioned the 1111 and the 555 and the 888 and the multiple digits, the double digits. And with 2021, it adds up to a 5, which is about change. It is about transferring the energy. It's my information that anything that is not in integrity is going to bubble up and rise to the surface, so that all of humanity can see the parts that are not in integrity and place them back into the place of balance. And the 5 is about it. You know, when you look at a 5, it's got that rolly bottom on it, and it has no foundation, and it's very asymmetrical, so it's in constant search for a balance. And that's what 2021 is all about, is that search for alignment and that acknowledgement in that alignment. And as we are working towards that, you can see, I mean, everybody's got an opinion about something, and none of the opinions seem to be the same. And that's what's happening right now. And that's why, as Nicole said, you've got to know yourself. That's why I teach, know who you are, get your values in order. What are your non-negotiables? What is it that really makes up you? And go into meditation and take that, because I think that we're in a time when the energy has to be strong, and the energy has to be pure, and we're really coming away from all of the turmoil and the change of 2020. We thought 2020 was change. 2021 is even change on a more conscious level. And I think that it's going to be that way. Hopefully it will settle out by 2022, or hopefully it will settle out by the middle of 2021, because I think that people are realizing, more light workers now than ever before on the planet, and they're realizing, just like with something like this. So who knows who's searching around on YouTube right now and says, what's this? And clicks into this and has a whole awakening. Who knows, when you go into the grocery store, as you say, in the market, Emma Louise, as you say, you go into the market and talk to someone, you're an activator. And you're activating something that is within others to make what was previously unacceptable acceptable. And that's happening on a wider scale now, and it is so exciting. Right. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. And Barbara, you've been in this field a while now. And what do you notice about the level of people coming to you and just your whole overview of the planet? What are you seeing?
Oh, it has changed so much. When I first went into psychotherapy in the mid 1970s, people's focus was right there with their feelings, their emotions, their relationships, their problems, their domestic problems or their work problems. And over the years, their focus has just changed enormously. People who've come even with some of those problems I've just mentioned have also had a much wider questioning, a wider wondering about reality and why are they really here? And their concerns are more like, how can I find out what I'm really here to do? I don't feel like I'm doing it. I don't feel like I'm here for any worthwhile reason. And along with that, over the last 3 decades or so, people have come with even broader questions about the universe, about reality, about other dimensions of things. I mean, it's really taken a more metaphysical, spiritual aspect. And that's not true of everybody on Earth, but from what I can see, it certainly is increasing all the time. And
Yeah.
I think that's really wonderful.
I mean, people will still have their relationship issues, but we're going to the bigger picture here.
Yeah,
And
they have both.
yeah. Wait, Nicole, were you going to say something?
Well,
Yeah, go.
because I think the earth has her own consciousness. And I think that the earth is going to ascend with or without us. Like, and in my meditation class, I work with these Australians, Gary Mantisi and Christy Mantisi, and Gary channels all the time for us. And the guides that they work with are very optimistic about the change. And what we talked about at our last class was like that we're going to be seeing new colors and hearing new things. And this is a timeline that already exists. Earth has already transcended all of this chaos and is already existing in 5D. It's just that our consciousness hasn't caught up to it yet. And so if humans can tune our own vibrational reality into where the Earth already is, and the work that I do, I don't know, maybe you guys see this at night when you sleep too, is like I clean up really murky places that are timelines that humans are possibilities for humans. Like I see terrible wars and I see like space aliens like doing terrible things to humans. But those are possibilities that I think that we seal off as no longer being possible. And so I think generally we're going in the right direction in our conscious awareness, but I think the earth is going with or without us, and that is her birthright, and that is what she's entitled to do. As far as I'm concerned, if humans don't make it, that we're just a byproduct, right? The earth is the primary consciousness that we should be worrying about.
I think we're a fractal. I agree with Emma Louise, and I'm very optimistic that we as a collective are waking up to something bigger because we are an aspect of the earth consciousness. I don't think it's separate. The earth is awakening. We're awakening even beyond the earth as an exo being, so I think everything, creation itself seems to be moving forward. Didn't I just read in the news that the earth's spin is increasing? Did anyone see that? The spin of the earth is like a couple of seconds faster than it's been, and Mars is wobbling and Jupiter's emitting a frequency, and there's stuff going on that's not just local. It's a non-local shift of big proportions. And what we're seeing just in this seminar is really an aspect, I think, of something even bigger that maybe we're not seeing, we're not aware of, but this is how it's coming to us now. This is our place to do this little piece here because we're reflecting a bigger change. I mean, yes, Rebecca.
I just wanted to add that one of the things that I'm seeing increasingly in my practice, and I work as a therapist for a functional physician. So a functional physician is oftentimes a regular medical doctor, but they're also a functional physician because they work a lot about how the body function, how it detoxes, how it rids itself of chemicals or toxins that are hampering its health. And what I am increasingly seeing, and this is a group that I am very interested in bringing into the extraterrestrial experiencer group, is I see a lot of people with autoimmune disease, Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, all of these complex, layered, difficult, like Sheila treats, difficult to treat illnesses that are just exploding across this planet because of GMOs, because of the electrical field, because of 5G, because of vaccinations. I mean, there's many reasons for it. But every one of these people that I come in contact with are not just, it's not that their bodies are sensitive to the earth to a huge degree, but their whole being is sensitive to the earth. Their physical body is like screaming at them to please get this out of my body, make me feel better. I want to have health. I want to be able to live on this planet and not be in constant pain or constant fatigue, however it manifests in them. And I just feel like this community of walk-ins and this community of exo-conscious, that we have a real gift to bring these people, because when they start to say, I do have an expanded consciousness, I am sensitive, I am sensing, like Marilyn said, all of these light spectrums, and I my whole sensory array is different than other people. And I just think that there's a doorway for us to come together with this group of people, and they can teach us and we can teach them. And I think we're speaking the same language and we're having the same needs, but we're going about it differently. And I think that in the future, it's going to be a very powerful coming together when these groups meet. Sheila, what do you think about that?
Well, the more people that we're able to bring together of like mind, the quicker we're going to be able to create the reality that we want. And a lot of people say I'm kind of like a Pollyanna, because it's like, oh, isn't this horrible? And isn't this horrible? And in a lot of ways, things do not affect me the same way that they do other people. And the more people that I talk to, the more like-minded people I'm also finding. People who come in that have all of these sensitivities, a lot of these people are star beings.
Yes.
And they're having a difficult time adjusting to the environment, a difficult time adjusting to the foods, a difficult time breathing the air that we have contaminated. We start to clear that up. And that was one of the teachings that my guides gave me, because when I first started this work, I started out doing spiritual teaching, and they told me that the body cannot drop, or the person cannot drop into the essence of who they truly are if they're in pain. And so all of these people coming together seeking resolution, when all of that resolution occurs within their body, mind, spirit, and they meet, it's going to create a new, healthier synergy. So I do agree with that.
That's good. No, thank you. Does that answer, Rebecca, some of your questions?
Yeah, I think we need to be aware that we've been talking about being a portal. And I think that's one of the ways that we function as a portal is by having a message and having a compassion, and be willing to be open to these issues that people are going through on this planet right now.
Yeah, and it's a frequency adjustment too that's going on there. That's where all the what are they, those children that are autistic, and it's a whole shift in frequency. Let me just ask, Deirdre asked some interesting questions. What do you all experience in terms of the living Earth as being a galactic part of the galaxies, as a living heart, part of the whole? What of Earth's cosmic origins? What of cosmic Earth origins? Does anybody want to, yeah, the Earth is a living part, and I think the Earth has relationships unbeknownst to us with other planets and other galaxies. It's a living conscious being. It's just not here as a material, unintelligent being. It's in its own cycle. We're just a fractal of the Earth, and the Earth itself is going through its ascension. This is what Jose Aguez said years ago, the Earth ascending, and we're part of that. We're really part and reflective of that. And I think the more we come to peace with each other, the more that will affect also the planet, the environment. We, of course, have to take care of all those things. I think the two big issues in this century are meeting the ETs and cleaning up the planet. And we need to fix the mess we got ourselves into, because they're not going to help us out. We have to take care of the stuff we created. So yeah, the Earth itself is also, it's a relationship with us. This is what the shamans have always said. So we a two-way street. We take care of the earth takes care of us. And that love for the earth is part of why we need to take care of these earth bodies, because we are living inside the earth. This is the earth. And so when we love the earth and love the bodies, we want to nurture it and feed it healthy foods. Yes, Hildegard.
Yeah, see, I see the earth as I am a cell in the body, in the collective human body. This earth is a cell in the greater cosmic body.
Yes, I think so.
So, you know, the Russian doll principle, as above, so below. So we're talking about people having all these illnesses. And I think many of us went through that, where we presented to our medical doctors with illnesses. There were no diagnosis possible, or there was no solution. Go home and dry, you know, get your affairs in order, Hildegard, you might not see 35. This is just a reflection of the lack of awareness that the person operating, or the energy operating the vehicle at the time, had up until 33. Then the first order was clean up. Well, what? And the body, the walk-in, rejected everything out there.
You're talking about yourself, your body.
And I think the earth, it operates the same way. See, we can kind of suck the oil out of the earth, we can abuse and violate and chop down the rainforest. And the earth in itself has a self-regulating mechanism that eventually says, enough, no more. Oxygen depletion, earthquakes, weather shifts. And I think as an individual, as I become more conscious of what I'm doing on this small body, by healing and focusing, eventually I also changed my attitude towards others, towards the earth I'm so privileged to walk on. And in that, I hope, in that individual journey, the accumulation of the effects of all of us will ultimately shift this. And it will reach to the decision makers that can decide about our food or our water or whatever. But I think as an individual, even though at some point I thought it's useless, I'm just so little, I can't do anything. Once I clued into what the indigenous peoples knew all along, oh my God, yeah, I am a cell in that bigger body, and I can choose which bear to feed, which wolf to feed, you know. Am I focusing on what's wrong? Am I focusing on what I can do right here, right now, in my space? That's what ultimately is what my hope is, that the earth then will be healing. And this is why, if we want to call the term other dimensionals or extraterrestrials, this is why this awakening is happening so quickly. And I didn't believe 30 years ago that something like this would ever happen. When I first heard about Barbara Lamb and Dr. Mack, oh, I so wanted to meet these people because they knew what was wrong with me, because I still had it at the time there was something wrong with me. And now we are sitting here. How amazing.
I just want to throw out one more question about gender, because it seems there women or being, I don't know if the soul has a gender or not, but this is the time. I mean, most of the people here are women, everyone except me. I was in that woman's body, and the women are leading a new consciousness, I think, on the planet, because, to bring it into balance, it's been so out of balance. I mean, we're here to be the gender, I think, or you be transgender, whatever, but there's also the beyond gender as well. And I think there's the integration of who we are in the gender, and then there's the going beyond it. Does anyone have anything to say about the role of women at times to lead into the new field of consciousness? Or maybe we've already transcended male, female, gendering.
I think we're talking more about feminine energy
Yeah.
as opposed to necessarily women, although women do embody a lot of the feminine energy, but there's a lot of men that embody the feminine energy. And if you just look at where we've been through history, it's been very male oriented, very, as you said, out of balance. And with all of this new feminine energy coming in, be it male, female, we're coming together and we're creating this new world. As Nicole said, that's already there. We're actually just stepping into and stepping onto that path that's already been paved for us. And most of us are waking up enough that we can start to hold that energy within our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jacqueline, did you have some? Oh, wait. Did you have something to say, Jacqueline?
No, I'm just, what I've been being told by some of the star beings is the male and the feminine energies are coming into balance, where right now the women will step forward. You know, we're seeing this more leadership and that, but then it does balance out between the feminine and the masculine within ourselves,
right?
You know, as well as.
Thank you. Nicole was going to jump in, and then.
Oh, I just think if you're from the school that says, I planned my life, I chose my avatar, I selected my gender, I selected my race, you know, like, this is perfect. This is perfect for exactly what I want to do. So is it a coincidence that we're all women? Yes or no. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. I think it's easier for women in Earth to be feminine and to be esoteric and to talk to nature and to be connecting with each other in an emotional way because of the society programming on Earth that enables these kind of characteristics to come out. Are we all women, gendered spirits where we come from? Don't know. I definitely identify strongly as a woman, but I don't know. Marilyn, what do you think?
Are there genders really on that other level?
There's a lot of them are androgynous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I think it's not, we're coming into the age of androgyny. The masculine energy is becoming more feminine, and the feminine energy is becoming more masculine. And not that you're becoming masculine, we're becoming awake. We're moving into the awareness of more of who we are, and it's come to light very consciously with the Me Too movement or the Me First movement and all of that in the past, this planet has shifted its balance. At first, it was matriarchal society, then it was patriarchal society, and now I believe that you're right. I think we're coming more into the androgyny of it, and that we are both genders. And you know, for many, that's becoming a bit of a challenge. But I think that's where we're headed, and I think that's a very powerful thing. And more planets in the galactics are both genders, and they're not identified as male or female, and in the galactic races, and they're identified as beings, and without a gender term. And I think that we're seeing that even with you know, the term of God. More people are, I mean, God is a masculine term, and more people are using the term source, or using the term, you know, spirit, consciousness, exactly, universe. And I think that's the new movement, and it's exciting to have that come in our time.
Yeah, I think coming to terms also with gender is a level of the schoolroom, and then there's the next level, and there's next level of transcending that and being consciousness. And I think we're really fortunate to be here at this time in the West where so many things are changing. I don't know if this could have happened, this kind of discussion could have happened even 5 or definitely not 10 years ago. And so this is evidence of this huge growth in awakening. So I'm really happy. Neil, do we have to wrap? We have
I wanted to say something, but Barbara wants to say something. So let's have Barbara say something.
Barbara, just quickly, when we trace the long-term journey of a human soul through incarnation after incarnation, what we see is that sometimes that soul has been a human male, and sometimes it's been a human female, and sometimes it's some lifetimes are spent being sort of a transition where the soul is adjusting from having been a male to being a female, or vice versa. Also, from a different perspective, as Marilyn was saying, I've been aware that many people who have had experiences with extraterrestrial beings do identify them as not being male or female. And some of the extraterrestrials have said that that was a very deliberate development of their species over maybe thousands or even millions of years, that they aimed toward being androgynous and are very happy to be living that way. So obviously they have different methods of reproducing themselves, other than the way that we do it.
I sort of like the old fashioned way, but I'm just that way. But
Yeah.
I agree, like, with what a lot of things said here in regards to the female and the masculine energy. That's a question that we had it at the Divine Feminine panel, the Portal Ascension Conference, the same question.
Right.
And it was because we wanted to know, some people say, like, if there's a bunch of women in an event, the Divine Feminine is represented, right? So does that automatically tie it into the fact that only females represent it? Or do we have a transcendence of that when we realize it's an energy? So I see that some people, when they see like females doing something empowering, they call it Divine Feminine. But if you see a man doing that, you might not call it that. You might call it like a sacred, empowered man or something like that. So I do feel the energy is independent of gender. However, like most of the panelists have said here, that each gender is wired in a way in order to receive those energies more efficiently, right? So the women that are born onto Earth, they have the ability to embody what it is to be a divine feminine and also a wounded feminine energy, but they can also go over into the wounded masculine and the divine masculine, right? And then same thing for men, they're wired in order to be able to embody the divine and the wounded. When I first started doing these events, like when I was first got into consciousness, I was like, everything was the divine feminine, return of the divine feminine. I did a 3-day conference on the return of the divine feminine. And like, it was just every few months, actually, I was doing a divine feminine event. And then one day I had this realization. I was like, well, if it's just the divine feminine, then where's the counterpart? And then I realized that we were living in a wounded masculine, but because the patriarchy has controlled this reality for so long, we neglect to realize that the masculine's not in control. The wounded masculine is in control. So what the divine feminine role really is not only to spark the divine feminine in everyone, but also make sure that the divine masculine shows up as well. And I see that's what's happening right now. And it's interesting because I do a lot of these events, and sometimes it's just like a bunch of guys talking about the divine feminine, right? And it's interesting to me because we do have, like, we get the female component, but it's interesting that a lot of men that are waking up to this are also anchors for the divine feminine. I see a lot of leaders that are literally embodying their life about bringing this energy back down.
Right. Well, no, that's great. I think that's a good way to end it, because it's going to continue this discussion for the next 3 days. Do you think it would be weird if I asked everyone to do a little light language at the same time, or whoever wants to, I mean, I don't know if you don't have to harmonize, but I think it's interesting when light language do at the same time. It's like a symphony. So if you want to, it's just an idea. Okay. If you don't want to, that's fine. But yeah, I think it's so. Do you want to? We can all join in, whoever wants. But do you want to start?
So you want us to do it all together, or just everybody a little bit?
No, I think all together would be interesting. I don't know what that will sound like, but
yeah, let's try it.
Okay. So why don't? somebody start and we'll all just, Jacqueline, go, or
Sure.
Hildegard, go ahead.
Taki inatore te
Yeah.
ana
Ashilingo
Olai
makatian.
Sata imi imotate.
Nice.
Inspiration. Yes. Yes. Thank
That was
you.
cool.
Shiver.
Well, Neil, that's been.
Made me
What's
shiver.
that, Emma? Oh, yeah. Did you,
I just
Emma?
have
You
to
want?
say goodbye.
Yes, I know. It's all day for you. It's 5 in the morning. I know.
Yeah, so I just say goodbye now because I was almost falling asleep to all of your beautiful light languages. And if I'd been a little bit more focused, I would have been part of it, but
No.
not right now.
It's all good.
So say
Thank you
goodbye,
so-
everyone, and thank you so much from my
Bye,
heart
Emma.
to
Join us
everyone
over the
listening
next-
and all of you.
Come back in over the next couple of days, okay?
I will.
And Neil, thank you. Thanks everyone for tuning in. But Neil, if people are watching on YouTube and they want to join, just tell them what they can do.
Yes. If you're watching on the Portal to Ascension YouTube channel, it's in the comments in the description section. You can go to the link there. You can register. If you're not on Portal to Ascension, then just go to portaltoascension.org. And right there, the banner is the first thing, or you can go to online events. It's the first event there.
Okay.
We just did a whole entire day, so we have 2 more days to go, and you'll get unlimited replay access of not only the next 2 days, but also what you've missed.
Right. So, and tomorrow, do you want to give a little like quick idea of what people will get tomorrow?
Yeah, let's ask Sheila. Sheila, you want to give us a rundown?
Sure. So tomorrow we'll start again at 10 Pacific time.
Yeah.
Pacific time, and we'll open up much like we did this morning, and then we'll move into Andrea Piran, who is the author of House of Darkness, House of Light. Hildegard will be with us tomorrow. Maya Christabel, actually Neil will be speaking tomorrow. We have Darlene Vandegrift, Yvonne Perry, who is will also be talking to us about light language. And then we have Robert McWilliam. And Robert is the walk-in that we talked about earlier that was actually the walk-in to Abraham Lincoln. And then we'll have another presenter's question and answer tonight, just like we did.
Great. Another 2 full days. And this was quite a full day. Neil, Sheila, everyone here, everyone online,
amazing.
all the attendees. Actually, I'm not as tired as I thought I would be because we've just passed through a portal, I guess. So thank you.
Will tomorrow's panel be for tomorrow's speakers?
Yes. Tomorrow's panel is for tomorrow's speakers, and then on Sunday we're going to have all of the panelists come together with all of the speakers.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you all. It's been a really beautiful, rich, full, vibrant day. Thanks,
Thank you,
Neil.
everybody.
Thanks, Sheila.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You.
Namaste, y'all.
Ellen, I was thinking about ending it with a poem.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I just
And,
also want to thank everyone in the attendees. They're really important for adding their energy here and their questions and
Yes.
comments. And yeah, please, that's a great way to sign
And
off.
we
with
had
one-
almost 100 people on all 4 platforms we're going for the Q&A. So not only do we have 100 here, we had 100 people watching from the other platforms too, which was pretty
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's- and
this piece, go ahead, Ellen. Say what
No,
you guys
no, we'll just say goodbye after your piece. So we'll just like, that will
Okay.
be the last thing. Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in checking out my spoken word and conscious hip hop, it's MC Mary Cat _resonance at Instagram. And I'm gonna do this poem because Alan, you spoke about the sixth sun earlier. And what I started to do is take different topics now and write ballads for these topics. And so I started, this is the beginning of my sixth sun poem. And it's part of an entire poem called The Nine Hells of Dante's Inferno. And basically the ninth hell, the Hopi says, after the ninth hell, we will enter the sixth sun. So this is called the sixth sun. The sixth sun has risen. We're now in the sixth world, spread for years by human peers. The sixth sun has risen. We are now in the sixth world, spread for years by human peers. The sixth sun has risen. We're now in the sixth world, the epoch of the sunflower, passed down for years by human peers through oral tradition, information about a collective mission, what a new reality would envision, spoken through Toltec and Aztec wisdom. We discuss and perceive larger cycles of time than even the Maya depicted. It was known we're in a transition that started in 1991. As we began to move from the fifth to the sixth sun, what are we waiting for? What have we waited for? These wars will stop. The sunspots increase in diameter and frequency. As the frequency of this planetary body shifts and changes, so does the neural networks within our brains. Kids, adults, animals, families, we've been blinded, you see, to the vibratory energy that a universe breathes. In the last of the nine hells, exiting Nessus, humans unable to think for themselves, we are at a nexus point. A decision shall anoint the sun god. I point out is the Son of God that resurrects and reflects over water, including the second ocean known as space, where the cosmic rays during this transitory phase will encase and wash over the solar system, and in the skies we may see both stars become one as we enter the sixth sun. As we enter the sixth sun.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd like to get a copy of that too, just to.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again for all the hard work, everyone.
Yeah.
Love you all.
very much.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.